Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. Hello everyone. We are from Group 4 of Narratology. First of all, let me introduce myself. My name is Bunga Maharani and my friends Moni Dava Anoval, Aulia Bagus Putro and Nurul Vidya Harefitri. In today's presentation, we will talk about a few examples of genre studies in narratology. And this presentation will run for about 10 to 15 minutes. Now let's see the concept map. There are four materials that we're going to discuss about. First is Vladimir Propp and folktale genre. Second is Arthur Berger and American action genre. Third is Janice, Radway and American romance genre. The last one is Seno, Gumira and Indonesian romance comic genre. Now let's move to the first slide. Vladimir Propp and folktale genre. Vladimir Propp is a literary expert who is born in Russia, specifically studied folktale genre. He had studied hundreds of Russian folktale by comparing the plot to another plot, and ended up in one conclusion that Russian folktale had a consistent plot rule. He had a theoretical name to call plot, which is function, that he defined as a character's functional act within the story. He found 31 functions that built the plot of Russian folktale. Though it's not always 31, but the order is always fixed. In the further development, many literary experts use Propp's rule to examine many other folktale from different countries, and they made a proof that Propp's rule can be applied generally. Therefore, based on his invention, we can say that if a story did not fulfill these rules, it cannot categorize as a folktale. In other words, you need to follow these rules in order to create a folklore. Accordingly, genre is binding the process of creating a story, and at the same time shaping the reader's understanding towards the story. That is why genre is a convention.
Hi, I'm Bagus. Now I'm going to tell about Arthur Asa Berger. Arthur Asa and typical American action genres. Arthur Asa Berger is an American expert in communication and popular culture, born in 1933 and is still working. In the 1990, he has researched for popular action story genres that have long appeared in American novels and films, namely the cowboy story genre or western, science fiction or sci-fi, joke detective or hand-boiled detective, and espionage stories or spy. His findings show the different characteristics of the four genres. These characteristics are generally accepted rules in their respective genres. These rules cover the setting of the time and place, the main character or hero, villain, plot, theme, unique custom, vehicle, and weapon. From looking at the table, it appears that each genre has its own elements. For example, the time division of the story in each genre, protagonist, secondary, or antagonist. The plot of each genre is also different. The theme is also different. The customs are different, but in the detective or espionage or spy, the customs are almost the same, namely suits or other formal clothes. The vehicle is also different between four genres, except detective and spy. And weapons, almost all genres use a pistol as a main weapon that is often used.
Janice Radway and the American romance novel genre. Janice Radway is an expert in literature and popular culture from America. On the romance novel most liked by Americans readers in 1980s. Readers or viewer romance stories tend to expect a happy ending. If a novel or romance film does not have a happy ending, the novel or film has deviated from the expectation of the reader or audience. Maybe they will not like the novel or film, or they will even think of it as not a romance anymore. Janice Radway discovered 13 recurring functions in the genre of romance he studied. So the 13 functions are: first, female characters experience destruction of fate. Number 2, female characters give negative reaction to male characters from among the nobility. Number 3, the aristocratic male character is acting ambiguous towards the female characters. Number 4, female characters interpret the attitude of the male character as evidence that there is a main sexual intention towards himself. Number 5, female characters are angry and cold towards the man. Number 6, male characters ignore the girl's characters. Number 7, female and male characters separated physically and or physically emotion. Number 8, male characters turn around treat female characters gently. Number 9, female characters reply warmly for the tenderness of the man. Number 10, female characters reinterpret the man's ambiguous attitude as a result from her past heritage. Number 11, male character openly confess his love for show its commitment strong to the woman through its softness. Number 12, female characters respond sexually and emotionally. Number 13, the fate of female characters can be repaired again. So from the Radway analysis above, we can connect the situation of that first function with the last happy ending function. That is, the fate of female characters can be repaired because she already got a partner in her life, which is her new protector. The happy ending felt logically or natural because the character has suffered from the start that how the convention was formed and expected to happen in the romance genre.
So, in this slide, we will discuss about Seno Gumira and the Indonesian romance comic genre. Seno Gumira is a writer and a researcher from Indonesia. He searched for the plot of the Indonesian romance comic in the 70s. And then there are 4 points about his research. The first one is the romance plot in Indonesia has a different ending than the American ending. It means that the theorem of the Indonesian romance plot is inclined to have a sad ending, but in America, the ending is always happy ending. And number 2 is the ending of the comic is based on the unrequited love and love triangle. And then the love triangle is divided into peace love triangle and war love triangle. And number 3 is the plot of the comic has a relationship to maintain their social status. It means that the story tells about the forbidden love because of their different social class. And number 4 is there are 4 kinds of plots. Number 1 is broken home. It means that the story tells about the character who had broken home background. And number 2 is cheating. Cheating, it means that the story tells about the character who shows something that bad, unfaithful, and break their promise. And number 3 is insolvent. It means that the character is lose their wealth and become poor. And last is matchmaking. It means that the story tells about the character who is forced to marry with someone they did not love. And then we will analyze the short story. And the title of the short story is Teman Terbaik by Adisa Citra. There are main events and side events. There are 3 main events. And the first one is The story tells about female character. Her name is Faika, and she is a cafe manager. She had crush on some unknown guy and is waiting for him to visit her cafe. And it can find in the second paragraph of the page of 60. And number 2 is Faika starts to feel anxious waiting him to visit, and it can find in the middle paragraph of the page of 61. And number 3 is the anxiousness made her lose concentration at work, and it can find in the end of paragraph of the page of 62.
Next is the side event. So the side event of the Terbaik story are first when Faika pleasantries with other employees at the beginning paragraph of page 61. And number 2, when Faika keep herself busy by helping trainee barista making latte art. More precisely, it is in the middle of the paragraph on page 61. And when number 3, when Faika helping other barista cleaning up the cafe for closing the day, precisely on page 62 at the ending of paragraph. Okay, that's all from our group. If there are any flaws at the presentation, we apologize. Thank you. Wassalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh.